and on marriage and parenting. So people ask that all the time. Hey, what's a good book on marriage? What's a good book on parenting? And so I'm just going to share a few of those with you. One of my favorite things are books, and this is my bookshelf, and my top shelf is for parenting and marriage. I love those things, and so I'm just going to share a couple with you if I can pull it out. There it is. Probably one of the top books I've ever read on marriage is Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. And what I love is it's based on Ephesians chapter 5, how a man needs unconditional respect and a woman needs unconditional love. And really, a man needs unconditional love too, but he spells it respect. It's what Rodney Dangerfield said anyway, you know. And this book is tremendous. It talks about when a woman doesn't get that unconditional love and a man doesn't get that unconditional respect, how it's almost like stepping on their air hose if they're underwater breathing through a breathing tube. And it would almost be like stepping on their air hose. And I wonder how many couples feel like, hey, my husband or my wife is stepping on my air hose. They're not giving me what I need. And this helps you give each other what you need. And when you give what they need, you will probably get in return what you need. So I highly recommend that book. Another one of my favorites is called The 7 Principles for Making Your Marriage Work. And it's really about friendship in marriage. And one of the things I've discovered is that as I've worked with a lot of couples over the years, is that when you have a friendship in the marriage relationship, it's like glue. And it allows you to go through those difficult moments, whether it's a loss of a child and something that's not your own fault, or whether it's someone has hurt each other in the marriage or another in the marriage. And this book talks about how to build that friendship. And I think it's a tremendous book for many who've not read that. Of course, one of the fun ones that we've ever read is The 5 Love Languages. This is by Dr. Gary Chapman. And the 5 love languages is really the idea that we all have a love language, and we need that love language to be spoken to us. And so if a husband and wife will understand what the other's love language is and speak their language, not their own, but their language, the other person will feel that love in a larger way than they would otherwise. And it talks about kind of filling someone's love tank. Think of a gas tank, and each time you speak their language, you're filling their gas tank. Others see it like a bank in some respects, and you're making a deposit. And when you speak their language, you might be making a larger deposit than when you speak your own language. And so learn to speak the other person's language. Tremendous book on marriage and a lot of fun. Another one that's actually one of my favorites is called His Needs, Her Needs. This is by Willard Harley. And it says that men and women are different, and you probably already knew that. Genesis chapter 2 says that they're different as well, and they were created to be different emotions, different needs. And that's really what this is about, is that a man has different needs than a woman. And so it lists the top 5 needs in general that men have and the top 5 needs that women have. And the idea is that if you'll learn to meet the needs of your spouse, they will reciprocate. Often, and it's not a guarantee, but that's often what happens, because they're motivated when you meet their needs to meet yours. And so it's really important to discover what are the top 5 needs. So you're going to find out, and so I won't give it away. Read the book. And here's the thing you'll also learn in that book is that sometimes there is a gender reversal, role reversal, and it doesn't exactly line up, but the principles still apply. There are lots of other good books. One is called Hedges by Jerry Jenkins, and it really talks about protecting your marriage and putting hedges around that. It might be on your online viewing of different things. It might be in relationships about how to protect your marriage. It really is a great book. And people that go the distance, marriages that go the distance, put hedges of protection around their marriage, and that's what that book is about. Another one that's really fun, this is my last one for marriage, is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It really is about communication. And the reality is that, for instance, men, maybe your wives have said, you really don't need to go with me to that event. What they don't really mean that. And it's not that they're lying, but they speak a different language than you. And when they say one thing, they really mean another. It's helpful if you've been confused and you're not exactly sure you're tracking with your spouse. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Learn their language, learn to interpret it, And sometimes they really mean the opposite of what they say in some sense. And so that book really illustrates that. Now, for families, I'm just going to tell you there's just a whole ton here. One of my favorites is the Birth Order book by Dr. Kevin Lehman. The idea is that every child, if there's more than one child in the family, every child has a birth order, 1, 2, 3, 4, we know that. But each birth order puts in them some different bents, so to speak, and creates in them some different ways that they look at life. For instance, usually if they're birth order number 1, they're usually an in-charge kind of person. If they're birth order number 3 or 4, often they're the class clown. They're the one that learns how to make everybody laugh because the youngest have done that. And so it really is interesting to learn, why do your kids act the way they do? Well, the birth order has a lot to do with that, and how to overcome some of that. And of course, then there's the middle child. If you got a middle child, they always feel like they're in the middle and they're not quite. They don't get what the first one had, and they don't get it as easy as the second one, and they just feel kind of on the out. So this can tell you how to deal with some of that. So you might want to do that. Another book here, and there's 2 or 3 books that I think are really important. One is called Living in a Step Family Without Getting Stepped On. How to Survive the Birth Order Blender, because what happens is all these children get mixed in a blended family. Here's another one, Can Step Families Be Done Right? Tremendous book. And another one here, and I really, this is probably my favorite, The Smart Step Family. And 7 Steps to a Healthy Family if you're a blended family. And it's by Ron Deal. And it tells you how to mix 2 families. And blended families, one can be from 2 families that the parents are divorced and now they're remarrying. It can be that one has lost a spouse to death and now is remarrying. There are all kinds of reasons. Maybe it's someone who's never been married and they marry somebody who's lost a spouse through divorce or death. And so it creates really unique situations when you bring 2 blended families together. And the reality is you aren't just marrying that person, but you're marrying the circumstances they bring into the relationship. It's just the way it is. And so you better understand that. And how do you handle, if you're coming from the outside into this blended family and bringing no children, how do you handle the children that are in the relationship? What I've learned is blended families are the hardest families to do. They can be done. And they can be done right, but you better spend some time learning how to put yourself in a position that are going to allow you to do blended families with some success and not feel always the frustration, because that can very quickly happen. There's a couple others, and I'll just tell you, I don't have them all. One is called Living on the Edge, and it's by James Dobson. He's written a number of books, a clinical psychologist on family. He's written, again, a number of books. Another one is called Dare to Discipline. Dare to Discipline is about how to raise your child and how to use discipline, not punishment, but discipline, how to use correction to guide your child to follow the heart of God, and how to build that internal and not make it an external coercion to living the way you want and living up to the standards. Life on the Edge is really about how do you help those who are in adolescence navigate the journey. There's another one, and I don't see it on my shelf. I know it's there, but there's one about how do you handle your emotions, and that's by Jim Dobson. And in adolescence especially, all the emotions are heightened, and how do you help people deal with their emotions? And it's for adults as well. And how do you overcome when you feel an emotion that is just sending you off the edge? And again, adolescence, often everything seems heightened, but sometimes when you go through difficult times like we're going through right now, maybe your emotions are flipping off the chart. How much stock do you put in them, and how much don't you? These are some resources I just want to give you that I've read personally, and I feel like added a lot of value to my life and added a lot of value to my preaching and teaching. And some of you, during this time, I'll just encourage you, put the phone down, put the articles and all the great content, but push that aside and read something that might be a little bit deeper, a little bit more meaningful for long term, that has stood the test of time, instead of just a daily consumption of whatever's out there. I want to encourage you to do that. I think it'll change your life. I think it'll change your marriage, change your family. So anyway, this is Pastor Andy signing off. Hope you'll read those. When you do, would you let me know what God is doing